Welcome back at Mail Leadership Team, and this is Philbert Manufucturing, a global consultant as usual. And in today's meeting, we are going to have the item agenda, which talks about manufacturing. While it might happen for the company to expand its sales or operations overseas, there are some of the key considerations that uh, it can take into consideration. Of course, some of the factors that it has to keep in mind, and that's a part of what we are going to be discussing in this meeting. We also be discussing about some of the effect that expanding the business operations or the manufacturing plant of the business globally, how it can affect the efficiency of the supply chain, as well as the benefits and the risks that are associated with that operation of expanding the business sales overseas. First of all, without taking much of your time, let's start on the key considerations which are involved in the moving the manufacturing arm of the company overseas. First of all, I feel like the company which is considering to expand its sales overseas, it has to keep in mind or to consider the legal environment of the country in which it is going to expand its sales. Why? I believe this is a key consideration because we know that different countries have like different laws or laws as the factors that affect the business. So the company which is planning to expand its operation to the country has to conduct something like a research on the laws, especially those ones that can affect the business, in order to refine or to plan accordingly how it will behave while operating in that country in a way that will not be against the laws that are applied in that country. In addition to the legal environment, I also think the company has to consider the cultural environment of the country. This is because we know that if countries are different, so they also have different cultures or cultural environment. They have different beliefs, they have different norms, they have different anything related to culture is quite different. So the company has to investigate or to consider the culture in that country in order to be in a way that will bridge the cultural differences between them and that country in which they operate. So after a company can consider the cultural environment, also there is another key consideration, which is the economic environment. Economic factors in that country has something to do with how businesses in that country operate, or they have an influence on the business or an impact which can be positive or negative. So a company has also to consider the economic environment. For instance, there are some national economies which face inflation. Inflation, when I say inflation, it's that loss of the value for the currency of that nation. So the country has to keep in mind, or the company has to keep in mind the value level or the inflation rate if they exist in that country, how they have to cope up with it in terms of the cost of the materials that they will be purchasing from that country, the labor, so things that can be affected by inflation, and that's part of the economy of that country, and they have something to do with the business and how it operates. That also goes with taxation level in that country as part of its economy. So where there are some countries which have low level of taxes and a high level of taxes, so the company has to keep in mind, or the tax, how the tax is in that country, because it's something that will be applied to that company, to that branch of the company, while it will be operating in that country. In addition to that, the other key consideration that the company has to keep in mind is the availability of the resources. You know, for a company to operate, be it a company that provides services or manufactures product, it will be in need of resources, be it human, be it material resources. So you have to conduct something like a research in order to ensure that the resources that will be needed in that country will be available to facilitate the business operations. That also goes with the consideration of infrastructural development in that country. You know, if a company mainly for those ones which manufacture or which produce some of the product. You know, there are the need for the roads facilities, like roads and the others, which will be used to in the supply chain, or to transport the materials, be it the raw materials, the finished product, the employees. So there is a need to consider how infrastructures are developed in that country in a way that will facilitate the business operations, or how they can plan accordingly. If the facilities are not there, what will they use, how will they adapt to the environment. So they also need to consider the facilities in that country. Company also has to consider its production volume in comparison, of course, to the competitors in that country. So it's advisable that a company which plans to operate overseas or to expand its sales overseas has like a high volume, a big volume of production, in a way that it will be able to compete with the overseas or the global competitors. Finally, the key consideration is the product demand, and I feel like this can be among the first ones. So if a company plans to expand its sales to like the company which is abroad, it has to first of all think or evaluate if that product is really needed within that place. So it can be a problem if the company is to expand to an environment where it will not able to have customers for the product or services that it's providing to those people. So those are the key considerations that a company has to take in mind, or to keep in mind, or take into considerations before it expands its operations overseas. Of course, the that factor or that process of expanding operations, or uh, having the offshoring the manufacturing plant to the global countries, has something to do with the supply chain of that country. So it has the effect on the efficiency of the supply chain. Among those effects, we have the access to global raw materials and diverse labor, because you know that if a company is planning, for instance, to operate in Vietnam, and it's maybe from US, so there will be a probability to have access to the raw materials which are in Vietnam that are helpful to that company, which is different from the fact of like getting those resources from Vietnam and bringing them to the US for the company operation. So that's the first benefit of having the access to global raw materials. In addition to that, there is an increase in the production volume of the company. You know, if a company operates locally, and fortunately it plans to go overseas or to go in the global market, you understand that as it will be having many branches in different countries, there will be an increase in the volume, the production volume of that company, because there will be a probability to produce more products. And in addition to that, there is the fact that it helps to easily provide product to overseas customers. You know, when the company operates locally, it might have that tendency to target customers from abroad countries. So it can be difficult to send product to them where they are in their countries and you are operating locally. So it's better to find a branch which is near them, so that they can get the product easily without having to take them across the borders. In addition to that, there is an increase in customers, of course. So when a company was operating locally, and it goes abroad, there is a tendency to have more customers. In the same way, Akime we get, as you are the leadership team of Akime, you are planning to offshore the manufacturing plant in Vietnam from US to Vietnam, with your purpose of facilitating the sales in India and China. So that's the operation that you are proposing, of having a branch, if I can say, in Vietnam, that will be like facilitating your customers or helping people in China and India to get the product that Acme produces. So that process is not without the benefits of and risk, of course. So there are benefits that are associated with offshoring a major branch of company, so as well as the risks. Uh, Starting for the I mean for the benefits, The first benefit is that there will be an increase of targeting the new markets. Or if Akime will be operating in Vietnam, it will also easily target the market in Vietnam, which will also like lead to an increase in customer base of Akime. And that also goes with the benefit of exploiting different markets. So different markets are different. There are some of them which are potential, or which can make the company generate more benefits. So like targeting new markets lead to another benefit of exploiting different markets differences. The other benefit is that there is an increase to the global brand, or the contribution to the global brand awareness. You know, when the Akime will be operating from US and had the branch in Vietnam, you understand that many people from abroad, many people will be aware of this brand of Akime Wiget. So you understand that there will be an increase in brand awareness of Akime Wiget, and that's another benefit. The other benefit is the cost saving, or what is economically known as the economies of scale. You understand that there will be a probability for Akime to produce more, which with raw cost, which means that there will be achievement of the economies of scale through offshoring to a global market. In addition to that benefit, there is an increase in the sales volume. As you are targeting new markets, as you are getting new customers, so that will immediately lead to the increase in the sales volume. The quantity that you have been selling in the last years will increase. That also goes with the benefit of generating more profit, of course. So you understand that we are having more customers, and we have the increase the sales volume. That also goes with the fact of generating more profit, or more revenue, because we are having more sales. On the other side, there are some of the cons or the risks that are associated with this process of offshoring a major branch of company to a global business. First of all, there is communication issues. You understand that if people are from US, and they after they return or go to Vietnam, you understand that there are some the issues in communication, because the language, the non-verbal communication, the all things that are related to communication are different from China. I mean from US and Vietnam. So you understand there are some of the issues that will be occurring as people have different ways of communicating. Another cultural and social barriers. You understand that if Akime employees or are from US, or the United States, and they go to work in Vietnam, two cultures are different. There are some of the norms, there are some of the beliefs of the people in Vietnam which are different from those ones in the US. So you understand that interaction will be a problem, because people are different in terms of culture and the social way of being. In addition to that, there is also security issues. You understand? You understand that if we are from the United States, the way or the security that we have been having in the US is different from the level of that one probably different in the Vietnam. So if you're not sure of, if you are not certain about how things are done in Vietnam, there might be some of the issues where we face security issues, mostly because we don't know how things operate in Vietnam. The next risk is the loss of intellectual property. you know, if the business is operating in Vietnam or any other global country, there is a probability that there will be multiplication of the original product or the original service or the original cost, if you can say. So if it requires us that we can like have strict policies which might be even conflicting with those ones in that country. So if the country that doesn't have the ways or the strict norms against intellectual property, the loss of the intellectual property, so it will be a difficulty for Akime to protect its intellectual property of the product and service. The last but not the least risk is the higher cost of offshoring. You know, yeah, probably it might be a fact that employees or labor in Vietnam is cheap, but in the other way, or on the other side, there will be like difficulty in having the utilities like electricity, other materials that will be facilitating operations, which might be higher cost than the way it is in the United States. So you understand that cost will be also another issue. Conclusively, I would say that okay, it's a good thing for Akime to expand its operations because it will lead to the business efficiency, targeting new customers, increasing the revenues. So it will be a good thing for the profitability of the business. But on the other side, there are some of the things that you have to keep in mind. It needs a careful plan so as to be successful in that country or in that global market, because there are some of the risks that are associated with that if not taken careful. Thank you very much. I think these are the helpful pieces of advice that can help Akime to expand its operations and become successful. Thank you.